Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. And welcome to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. I am your host, Ken M., and sitting across from me this week is the intern himself, Padawan J.
Oh, baby.
Folks, we have a very special interview to do. Now, we're taking a little break from the movies, TV, and comics talk that we usually do to present a good friend of ours to the show. And I got to give a little backstory behind this, too. When we started this whole ODPH thing, we wanted to have local music be on the show. One of the first people I reached out to is the gentleman that is in the studio today, because he was part of a band called Crimson Brethren, who has amazing pop-punk music. And when I went up and asked him, hey, could we use the music for the show? He said, absolutely, brother, whatever you need, you got it. He is in a new band now called Floodlands, and we're going to talk to him about that and a whole bunch more. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Jimmy Gazdik.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Ken.
Thank you for coming on the show, Jimmy.
Josh.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Absolutely. Anytime,
Thank
brother. Hashtag ODPHEE if you want to join in the conversation on social media. So, Jim, why don't you tell our listeners, how long have you been playing for?
Started back in around, I think it was 1999. I was listening to a lot of different music then. Still listening to varieties of different music, but my dad, I wanted a bass really bad for the longest time, and my dad and my mother, for one Christmas, bought me a bass and an amp, and they bought my brother Billy, who plays drums.
Shout out to Billy.
Yeah, Bill plays drums in Crimson and Floodlands. My dad got him his first drum set, so that's when I started.
And you just kind of gravitated towards it, you know?
Yeah, and we'd have like many basement sessions, just him and I trying to learn our instruments.
So you're kind of basically self-taught.
Yeah, well, I took a few lessons back then, but the music store I went to closed. It's music workshop down on Washington Ave.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah, I had two teachers, Mark Brutvan and Tommy Cook. They're really, really, really good musicians, great guys, but I think Tommy still does it. I think Mark might be doing it still, but yeah, after they left, I just started jamming with a few friends here and there, nothing serious, but I met my friend Eric Solo, who you actually know.
Yeah, I know Eric. Shout out to him.
We started jamming up at his house and started coming up with some pretty cool stuff, actually.
So just to recap, though, I mean, you just kind of really started at a young age. You really just kind of fell in love with the bass.
Yeah.
Just really kind of drew to you. Your brother plays drums. So you just, starting out with little jam sessions here. You're just kind of starting, like the high school band, garage thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you kind of hooked up with Eric, and then it kind of got a little more serious, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we took it pretty, we were young kids, but
as serious as you do when you're kids. Yeah.
We loved it. We do it every week we'd practice for like 4 or 5 hours at a time because we knew that was our only time to do it. So we do that. He actually wrote a good amount of the songs. I'd usually come up with a part and he'd extend on it, kind of like I do now with Floodlands a little bit.
Okay.
I did that with Johnny too, but Johnny and Crimson Brethren.
So basically, when you go into the phase of songwriting, what's the approach you take with it? I mean, like, has it changed obviously since you started when you were, a teenager?
Definitely. I do it a few different ways, but usually I'll pick up an acoustic guitar and just mess around with some chords. I'll try to come up with something catchy that I think, whoever I'm playing with at the time will like. And sometimes I'll try to sing a melody over it. other times I don't. But like usually, I come up with a riff, bring it to the band room when we're practicing, and the guys like it, we'll use it, and it usually will become something. But if they don't like it, then move on and try to do something else.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, so
not every riff's gonna work, but
well, you don't know until you try.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
exactly.
the thing. It's just kind of you throw it against the wall, hope it sticks, and
oh yeah, there's been some riffs before where I thought, oh man, these guys are not gonna like this, but I really dig it. And then I show up and show it to them, and they love it. So,
I mean, that's got to be a great feeling.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
So when you're going through this, I mean, obviously at a young age, what was the type of music you were listening to? Like, what do you think really influenced?
Definitely, when I was younger, actually, my mom actually, God, she's awesome. But
shout out to her.
My mom brought me home for Easter out of all holidays. She brought me home Nirvana's Nevermind and Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
I mean, doesn't everyone get that for Easter?
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like a normal Easter gift for me.
Yeah, but like that kind of changed my life because those two albums, like, it showed me like a rebellious side to music. Because when I grew up, I was listening to more like the Beach Boys and the Beatles, Elvis, like that was my thing. Like that stuff meant the world to me. But when I heard like music with an edge to it, like it kind of changed me and made me really, really fall in love with it. Not that I wasn't falling in love with like the bands I listed before. That's more what my parents were listening to. And I'd always listen to, my parents would always have the radio on, oldies stations, 60s soft rock stations.
It was kind of your starting off point.
Yeah, I love all that stuff, but
no, definitely.
I found more music that was more me, I think.
Well, I think as we're all growing up, you hear different sounds, and of course, it's obviously what your parents are playing at your house that you kind of gravitate towards. So, like you say, you grew up in a house that was playing the Beatles, the Beach Boys, Elvis, and so then obviously as you're growing older, you're getting to experience more new sounds, more new types of music. So obviously, getting Nirvana's Nevermind and Guns N' Roses, obviously two very different bands, but very iconic in their own rights.
Oh, definitely.
And it's just something that you feel it just kind of grew on you, and you're like, okay, I really dig this, and just.
I was like a 13, 14-year-old kid. When you hear music like that, then you're like, man, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like,
and it just kind of coincided with as you started playing bass, and you really were kind of like, I really gravitate towards this music. I really want to start playing this music, and this is the kind of music I want to do.
Absolutely. Like, in the same vein. But I had a friend that lived next door to me. His name is Chris Strong. He was listening to this band called Typo Negative at the time. And when I first heard it, I was like, man, I've never even heard anything like this in my life. Like, what is this band? Like, so he had the Bloody Kisses album, and he let me borrow it, and I made a tape of it.
Oh, man.
And that's how long ago that was. I made a tape of it, and I played that thing all the time. And finally, my mom was, kind enough to drive me to the wall. To
the local record store chain.
I bought my own copy eventually, yeah. But, when I first heard Pete's bass sound,
Peter Steele.
Yeah, it changed me, and I wanted to play bass. Like, that's what made me want to play bass.
Sometimes, that happens with a lot of people, that they hear a musician and just the style of play just really inspires them. So, to hear that Peter Steele definitely had that effect on you.
Totally.
And he definitely had a very unique style, especially Typo Negative is a one-of-a-kind band that you don't really hear too much of that sound these days.
No, not really at all. Like, I can't really name a band. They're their own thing, man.
No, they were definitely their own style of rock. So, you to start emulating that, it's kind of a unique choice. A great one, though.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking that in the least. But it's just something.
The funny thing is, their two biggest and Peter's biggest influences were Black Sabbath and the Beatles. So they're even going back to my parents' music. So.
Well, music is so universal that I
is.
think that every type of music you hear, whether good or bad, has an effect on you that will either inspire you to go one direction or try emulating it in another one.
Absolutely.
So for you, I mean, obviously, growing up, starting the bass, hearing the Peter Steele, trying to do your version of that style.
Yeah, and I started listening to a lot of other like heavier metal bands then too at the time. Just that kind of opened a door for me. Like Tool, A Perfect Circle, I always loved. But when I joined the Surlingtons in 2005, Kyle Surlington actually, he kind of was my gateway to punk rock actually. Before that, like, the only punk band I really listened to was the Misfits, and I love the Misfits. Like, Jerry Only's another inspiration to play for bass.
So just to recap those, so you started playing with Eric and
yeah, my friend Frank Baglioli was the drummer.
And the name of that band was?
That was Dark Seduction.
Okay.
That was like a heavier, like, kind of almost black metal kind of band. Like, Eric and I went through a big, like, black metal phase for a while.
Okay, so you went from that and then
more melodic than like your typical black metal band though. But I'm sorry.
No, by no means. I just want to make sure I'm just recapping this right for our listeners, because you started with Dark Seduction, as you said, and then you went to was it Love of This World?
Yeah, that was a project that we never played out live. It was it's kind of like a collaboration between Eric and I. Were basically wrote most of that stuff. Well, not most of it actually. My friend Nick Hyatt actually played on 2 songs, and he wrote the bulk of those 2 songs. Love of This World was kind of like a project that, we didn't even get together that much, but we came up with 4 different songs, and we just, was it 2016? I think 2006 is when we did that project, but we never released anything, or they were kind of rough cuts. But finally in 2016 I let it out of the vault and just put it up on Bandcamp so people could hear like what we were doing after Dark Seduction.
And so from there, then that's when you joined the Surlingtons, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Well, I joined, actually it's funny, it kind of it was kind of around the same time, because I joined the Surlingtons in 2005, but I was still playing with Eric.
Okay.
And I remember I was doing like double duty. Had a Surlington show, then I had a band practice with Eric and the guys. So that was, and you're going to school too.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, but it was worth it.
It's definitely a lot on the plate, and it's definitely, at this point, you're kind of just branching out. You're starting to kind of get into your musical rhythm, so to speak, and going from a transition from Peter Steele and the metal aspect, I guess I would say, to
more of a Ramone. Like, Kyle introduced me to the Ramones, and they became like one of my favorite bands. They're still one of my favorite bands. Like, the Ramones mean very much to me.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually.
So then, as you're making your transition to punk rock, what is the type of feel that you're getting for this?
Just like a free feeling, like a feeling of, you don't have to be the best musician to write a song. Like, you could write a song and have it mean something and have it be everything to you, and it could be everything to somebody else. And people would come out to Surlington shows, and like, Kyle wrote like a lot of great songs, but like, people came out and like they just had a good time. Like, they enjoyed it. Like, we were just like a local band having a good time. And like, I saw a different side of music. Like, music doesn't always have to be serious or, dark. It could be exciting and fun. Like, I never played music like that before, so I never knew or understood it. But Kyle like opened that door for me, and I thank him. Like, it's really cool.
It's definitely a unique journey about that, and I want to take
Yeah.
a quick break, but we're going to touch upon that more when we come back. You're listening
Sure.
to Jimmy Gazdik from Floodlands here on the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for the second segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition with Jimmy Gazdik from Floodlands. So Jimmy has been telling us how he started playing bass. He was very influenced by Peter Steele, and he's kind of working his way through, the high school bands, really finding his niche. He's, playing a lot more metal, and now he got introduced to the punk scene with the Surlingtons. Describe the atmosphere of the shows at this time. Like, this is your first time kind of playing out, you said?
Yeah. Well, I played out with Eric. We did 2 shows with Dark Seduction, and then that project kind of ended. But yeah, like the Surlingtons was the first band that I ever really like played on a regular basis, and we even did a tour.
Oh, wow. How was that?
That was awesome. Like, not a lot of people showed up for the shows on the tour, but we just had a great time because we're all really good friends.
And you guys were really young at the time, though, right?
Yeah, early 20s, I think.
I
Surlingtons.
I consider that young, yeah. So
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, so but you guys are starting out. Obviously, in just going to play shows. Just making a tour, especially at that age.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, it was cool. Like, when Kyle told me about it, I was like, yes, I want to do more of this. Actually,
Oh yeah,
I wanted to do more of it after that tour, but that's the only like real tour I went on, and we went all the way to Baltimore, which was cool.
Oh, wow.
so playing from Binghamton to Baltimore,
Yep.
and then just all points in between. Especially at such a young age. That's got to be an incredible feeling to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to do more of that actually. So hopefully the next band,
We'll have to see what happens.
Floodlands, does a little bit more out of town shows.
Yeah, well, that's got to be the thing, because especially with playing out, especially out of the area, you kind of see different music scenes.
Oh,
you kind
yeah.
of see definitely what other towns are doing,
Totally.
and in comparison. So taking it back, so Surlingtons definitely were playing around, and then it just kind of evolved into you going and starting the Crimson Brethren project.
Well, not exactly. There was a 3-year gap where I didn't even play music. I still played, but I wasn't in a band.
Okay.
And one day, the guys from Fish Out, they had their band going, and they asked if I'd like to join.
And Fish Out is another band at this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did that for a while, and then I joined. John moved back from college, I believe, and him and Bill were talking about starting a band, and Bill asked me what I thought, and I told him I'd love to.
So at this point, the Surlingtons phased out, and then you started, and then
Kyle wanted to do some different stuff, which I don't blame him. Like, that's cool.
oh, no problem with that.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a Surlington project that went on the back burner. You started
Yeah.
playing around with Fish Out, and then it just kind of gravitated that when your lead singer Crimson Brethren, John, came back to town, he met up with your brother Billy, who was playing drums at the time, and then they approached you about doing a band.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Then that eventually formed into Crimson Brethren.
Yep.
And then you also had a few guitar players playing with you at that time.
Yeah, we started out with our friend Matt Whiteley, great guitar player. He's in San Antonio, Texas. But we started with Matt. We played about, maybe 2 years with Matt, and did an EP, came out with that EP with Matt.
The summer demos. Or
No,
no, just the Crimson EP?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But Matt wanted to move, and I was a little bummed by it because I was like, man, we just started something really cool, and plus he's a really good friend, so you don't want your friends to move. But
No, absolutely not. But I mean, things happen.
yeah, so Matt moved, and we talked about it, and the plan was to just be a 3-piece.
Okay.
And we did that for about a year. And Frank Martian, good friend of ours, played in bands like Nancy and Fister Face 55 and a ton of other bands around here. Frank's really big, was a really big name in the punk scene. Great guy too, but Frank approached John about playing second guitar. And we jammed with him, and it was awesome.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So Frank joined the band, but then I believe he got a job offer to move.
So-
Indianapolis, I believe.
Oh, wow. So all in the Midwest.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it wasn't he wasn't with us long, but it was awesome while he was there. We played a show with him. Good crowd came out. And I'm really happy I got to play with Frank though, 'cause I looked up to Frank when I was a kid, so it was nice to play like it's nice that he joined like a band that I created.
No, this is gonna be a great feeling because especially as you're going out and you're playing shows with the Sterlingtons. Describe the difference between the shows there and then when you guys started playing out at Crimson, because I know with Crimson you were playing pretty well around the area and then even up at the Ithaca Fest, I believe too.
Yeah, we did the Ithaca Fest. That was really fun actually. I don't think I ever played in front of that many people. So
How many people do you think were around there? If you if you had to take a number guess, thousands.
Yeah, had to have been.
Okay,
But not all of them are paying attention, obviously. But it's still cool.
no, but to think about it, that you guys just have the EP out at the time.
Yeah,
I don't believe the Summer Demos tape came out because that was your second one, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
That you guys are already kind of making your name and you guys are starting to pack out places in town too. I mean, I know I've gone to the Beagle to see you guys play a few times.
Beagle. I felt like we were the house band at the Beagle for a while because people were just coming out to those shows.
Yeah, I mean, you just guys had a bunch of people that really showed up and really, really supported. I mean, because I think the music grew, and I think at that time, Crimson really had a very unique sound that was just very pop punk, and it was very very catchy for listeners to get on board with. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's pop punk, but there's definitely a darkness to it, which was cool. It's something a little different.
And also, too, you guys were featured on an ESPN motocross video.
Yeah, that's right.
Can you break that down to us?
My friend Stu Johnson, he works for BMX, I believe, and he was doing a video. He was doing a BMX video, and he needed music for it, and he reached out to me and asked if he minded if he used our music, and I said I talked to the guys, and they were more than thrilled. So they gave the approval, and Stu used it, and it was on the ESPN.com. So,
and I believe you can find it if you do a web search for it as well. If you type in Crimson Brethren BMX, I think you guys can find that clip on there. Which, I mean, that has to be incredible too, because if you think about it, you're not signed to a label. Mm-hmm. You have at this point you have the 2 EPs out, and to have such exposure, getting on ESPN for a video, your music playing for an extreme sport video, that's got to be an incredible feeling.
Absolutely. He ended up asking us to come back and do a second video. So
there's 2 on there.
Yeah, there's 2 out there somewhere. I haven't looked for them in a while, but they're out there.
So that'll be everybody's homework assignment when you go on after you listen to the podcast. Go check out your search engines and type in Crimson Brethren BMX video. Will be able to find it and see how good it is. I've seen it. I haven't seen the link in a while, but it is a very good one. I mean, but especially coming from this area to just, you're starting to make some waves. You're definitely playing around. You definitely have a good buzz going around you about town. And then just describe as you guys are starting to play. How is that feeling? Like as you're going from a 4-piece to a 3-piece, just kind of the trials and tribulations.
That was cool because Frank left. He had to move, and I reached out to my friend Tom Dowd, who I've been friends with probably since I started playing bass, actually, 1998, 99. So I reached out to Tom. He was more than happy to come over and play with us, and it clicked. Like I was really happy. Tom's more of a metal guitar player, which is awesome, but he really genuinely enjoyed playing our style of music. And from when Tom joined the band, it kind of brought a new excitement to the band because he's just so much fun to be around. And
you could definitely tell on stage too. I mean, it was just going from a 4-piece to a 3-piece is always a big step, and you can definitely hear the sound. And I mean, Tom definitely, I think, helped elevate the sound a little bit.
Absolutely.
Nothing against you guys playing as a 3-piece because the shows are always great, but you obviously have the extra excitement on stage and extra energy that I think it resonated with the crowds.
I think so too. Tom's just a fun guy to be around, and everyone at the show really got a kick out of him and enjoyed his performance.
So as you guys are kind of growing in that aspect, Crimson went on an indefinite hiatus.
Yes.
At this point. So
yep.
When we come back from break, we're going to talk a little bit about Floodlands and just talk about all things 607 with our guest, Jimmy Gazdik from Floodlands. You're listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
Hi, this is Mike C. from I Am Horror. You're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
Coming back for another segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition with our guest, Jimmy Gazdik from Floodlands. Now, we've talked about his rise playing music in the area. He's been in a few bands here and there. He's been from the Surlingtons to Crimson Brethren. Crimson went on indefinite hiatus last year. So now he is in a new project, which is one of the most anticipated projects in the Binghamton music scene, Floodlands. Now, I know there is not that much you can really tell us about it, but what can you tell us about this band?
Well, the band consists of me on bass, Nick Donatelli on guitar, Tom Dowd on guitar, and Bill Gazdik on drums.
That's a very impressive lineup. That's a lot of Crimson Brethren coming over to this band.
Yep, and it's nothing like Crimson Brethren.
I was going to say, can you describe what the sound is going to be like?
It's going to be heavier. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of melody.
So it's going to be a completely different sound than Crimson and the other bands that you've been in.
Yeah, definitely.
When do you think we'll be able to start hearing some of this music?
We're hoping for summertime. That's the goal. So we'll see what happens. We've been working on recording a little bit, so we think we could probably accomplish the goal.
Absolutely, and we are going to be having Floodlands on when their EP is ready to be released here on the ODPH. So, Jimmy, you've been playing music in the Binghamton 607 area for many years now.
Yep.
How do you describe the scene here?
It's great. It's a great community. There's a great bond between everybody here. And unfortunately, I haven't been to many shows lately because of my schedule, but I try to make the ones I can. And people keeping it alive, though, are Katie Kanazowicz and Tim Oliver. They've been running the Avenue DIY.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that? Because that just started up in the area?
Yep. My buddy Colin is a big part of it, too, and my buddy Paul. But they've been setting up a lot of shows there, and almost every week you could pretty much go to a show. And there was a while in Binghamton where that you didn't have that option, so it's really nice to see it come back.
Now, with Avenue DIY, is that more for the punk scene, or is that like all types of music?
Avenue DIY, I think it's for any kind of music.
Okay.
Whoever, wants to set up a show, just get a hold of Katie or Tim or Colin or Paul, and I think you could set one up. And
where is it located?
It's on Avenue D off of Main Street in Johnson City,
New
York.
And you can find their links on social media.
Yep. They're on Instagram and they are on Facebook. That's right.
So we'll have those links posted as well too.
Yeah.
So describing the music scene, I mean, where has been some of your favorite places to play in town?
My favorite place was, I like Spool Manufacturing a lot. There's a lot of good shows there.
Which was a warehouse, I believe, in JC.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And the Beagle, there's a lot of fun times at the Beagle too. Like a lot of Crimson shows there. A lot of people came out for those shows, and I thank them. It was very cool. Surlington's played at Fitzy's a lot. We were kind of like almost like a house band there, it seemed at times, but we had a lot of fun playing there too. And
it's got to be an incredible feeling though when you're going out and when you're saying, because I know you referenced it a couple of times that you've been like the house band. That means that the music you're doing is bringing people in, and it's also like you're getting asked to play there often because the music stands on its own. Yeah,
it's really cool. Like I have nothing to say but thank you about that. Like it's nice that people enjoyed it. Another venue was Walnut Street. My friend Jordan used to have house shows there. Another cool place to play. A lot of people came out to those shows too.
Now, what do you think is the biggest difference between a house show and going out to like an establishment, so to speak?
House show is just more fun. Like I think in a sense because it's like you're just hanging out with your friends, like watching music. But like when you're out at a bar, I don't know, you never know who you're gonna run into. So usually like house shows, it's all your buddies, all your friends, all the people you love. So you're just having a good time.
What other places have really stuck out to you?
The Garage was a really good time too.
Shout out to the Garage.
I had my birthday party last year there, and Crimson played with Cold Sweats, another a really great band, great friends of mine, and they put on some really good shows there.
So it's definitely in the area. You kind of covered a lot of different places with your music. Is there any musicians locally that really influenced you?
Yeah, actually, a guy named Kevin Kober who played in a band called All Immune. All Immune is this metal band that I was really into when I started playing music, or more after I started playing music. But I went to high school with All Immune's singer and drummer Steve Askew and my friend Dan, who I'm still really good friends with, both of them actually. But Steve would always be asking me to go see his shows, and finally I did, and they were awesome, man. Like, they're one of those bands where I just wanted to go see them play every time because I thought they were that great.
Very nice, man.
And they ended up getting a bass player, and that bass player is Kevin. And when I saw Kevin play for his first time, I thought, man, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like, I want to start like really pushing for this. Like, he definitely inspired me to like get out there and play more and like make things happen. And actually Kevin and I have become really good friends over the years. So he's I look up to Kevin still to this day, but even besides that, he's like a very good friend of mine.
Very cool, man. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in our final question though, you played in this area, you've talked about a lot of local musicians. Is there any bands that we should be really keeping an eye out for in the next couple of years here?
Oh man, there's several local bands I'm really stoked
Break it down,
on.
because Jimmy, like I say, when you go to shows, you are almost like the mayor because you have people flock to you. No, people flock to you because you know what you represent to them, and that is just you've played in this area, you've been a part of the scene for so long that this is kind of like your stamp of approval because you're such a positive guy. What bands should we be hearing about?
Oh man, start with a Kevin Kober band, Unethical. They're pretty awesome. Another band is Bad Batch. All of my good friends, my friend Brandon plays in that band. My friend Jesse, and Dennis, and Graham. Really, really great hardcore band. There's Walking Distance. Another Kevin Kober band. This guy plays in I think 5 different bands around
that's
here.
incredible.
Yeah, him and Tom actually have a cover band called the Bro Bros. They do all girl covers like Madonna, the Go-Go's, obviously.
That's very interesting.
Cyndi Lauper, stuff like that.
That's an interesting
I
take.
think they even do some Cranberries, which I love the Cranberries. But other bands are another Kevin Kober band, Talk Hard. Him and my friend Alex Craver, who also plays in Cold Sweats, and my friend Brianna, great voice and great guitar player. There's Hillcrest, great pop punk band from I think those guys are from Johnson City. And Shout at the Robots, man. Another exciting band, exciting young band. Crimson played with those guys several times.
And I will say this too, I've never met the guys in Shout at the Robots, but they've usually had an earlier slot on the cards with you guys playing.
Yeah.
And they stay right to the end, and they still have the same energy when you guys took the stage.
Man.
And this is 3 hours later, they're still pumped up. Just
you
want to talk about a band that I think really represents the scene, and really, if you really want to see an energetic, fun group, that's one to really keep an eye on.
Yeah, man, those guys are awesome. They have the best attitudes.
Yeah, absolutely.
About everything.
You could just tell.
Yeah. Julian's a really great guy. Well, they're all great guys, but man, they're doing some pretty unique stuff with their style, and I'm really looking forward to see what they do next. They just recorded with my friend Mike Micha, actually, who's a great he's a great musician. Mike actually has a band called Our Chemist, but he records a lot of the bands around here. He does a fantastic job. But he made them sound really great on their album, and I'm really looking forward to what Shout at the Robots do next.
Absolutely.
There's also a band called If Madrid. Really dig their style.
They're very eclectic.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of hard to describe
It's
them.
like beautiful music. It's really cool. And Connor and Liam, those guys are some of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But anyway, there's also a band called Media Limits, who I played in Fish Out with some of those guys. They've been making waves around here. Really, really cool hardcore band. They've been getting a lot of people in. Another band, Underground River. It's a band, but Underground River is basically my friend Hunter Davidson. He's the genius behind it. But sometimes he has a band, sometimes he plays acoustic, but it's always great no matter what. I love watching Hunter play, and Hunter and I wrote a song together.
Oh, nice.
I think it was about 2 years ago. I wrote this song. It was a real personal song, and I didn't think Crimson could use it, so I brought it to Hunter, and he just put the most beautiful melody behind it, and I was honored to give him that, because he made my song come alive, and he still plays it in his set to this day. It's an honor.
Is it on Band or SoundCloud or Bandcamp or anything like that our listeners can go check out?
Not yet. He plans on recording an album eventually, but him and Mike Meach are the same. Actually, they spend more time on other people's music, and it's hard for them to get to their stuff. They're just so devoted to their craft, and but man, I wish both of them would work on their own stuff more, because I really enjoy both of their projects. And there's another band, Kyle's new band.
Kyle Serlington's?
Yeah, they just broke up, unfortunately, but Television Influenza, great band. Their bass player, Reggie, amazing bass player. And Jay Sums, their drummer, great guy. But man, I just wish they lasted a little longer. But I know Kyle. I know he's probably up to something. He's got something in the works, and he'll probably let us know eventually. But I'm ready to see more of Kyle play. He's awesome. And actually, there's a band called Molina too, and my friend Eric Camp plays in that band. Really talented band. Their guitarist John Molina, really great guitar player, and he's the singer, which is crazy.
Doing a little double duty.
It's hard to play. The way he plays and sings is just amazing. And there's one more band I want to talk about, and it's Tom Dowd's other band, Jameer.
Okay.
I think you heard Jameer. Like, they're off the wall, man, but they're just really.
If it's the group I heard, they have a very unique style.
Yes.
That trying to explain it, and this is not a diss on him by any means, it is something that you have to sonically hear yourself and decide what it is. It is great.
Yeah.
But it is so you've never heard anything like it, I don't think.
Tom's like a mad scientist with a guitar, I tell you. Like, he is this incredible.
This project, if you which you'll have to hit Jimmy up about, you have to hear to fully understand.
Yeah, I believe they're on Bandcamp, and they might be on. I think Tom said they're on iTunes. So if you ever,
we'll have to see.
Check it out.
We'll have to see if Tom can chime in on the website and see if he can post that link for us, because I am not 100% sure, but I don't want to give any false information. But I know that project, if that's the one I'm thinking of, you have to hear to fully just embrace.
Totally, man.
Yeah, it's truly some cool stuff, but it's definitely, to try to describe it, well, I cannot do it.
I can't
justice.
describe it.
No, it's just one of those things you're going to hear and be like, whoa, like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
But definitely, though, Jimmy, you named a lot of bands. You represent the scene and the area well. Is there anything else you want to give as a parting shot before we end the interview?
I just want to give a shout out to my parents who bought me my first bass. Like, thank you, and thanks for being there for me. A shout out to my friend Phil, who I also played with for a while. He's a great drummer. And a shout out to my bandmates. Like, I'm really happy to still be doing this, and they make it worthwhile. And also my friends in Cold Sweats, Alex, Pete, and Brandon. You guys are awesome. They're a band to look out for too. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Jimmy, we can't thank you enough for coming on and doing the show. Like we said, when we started this whole ODPH thing, Jimmy was the first person we reached out to for music, because he knows this area, he represents this area. If you want to talk about an ambassador for the scene, you don't find anybody nicer, kinder, and better than Jimmy. So we are proud to have him on the show. Thank you again for doing it.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. Anytime, my friend. So for Jimmy Gazdik from Floodlands, who you'll be able to check out on Instagram, Facebook, and Bandcamp until they are on the show. For Padawan J, the intern extraordinaire, who's been doing a heck of an editing job, which we will talk about on another show for another time. I am your host, Ken M. Thank you again for listening to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. We'll see you next time.